It's the purity that comes through fire. It's the pressure that creates the diamonds. Symbols from nature that resonate in the successful giants within our society. But does it have to be that difficult? Do we have to suffer to gain? Is the path of pain truly the path to gain? And my experience with entrepreneurship was somewhat unconventional. I grew up on a lake with serious wave irritation issues. And I decided to create a business that those issues would be rectified by replacing traditional concrete seawalls with glacier rock seawalls. But to do that, I know I'd need a truck. And growing up with a grandpa that always said, anything you need, just ask grandpa. So with Thanksgiving just around the corner, it was a perfect opportunity to cash in on that favor. After dinner was finished, everyone's done putting away dishes, Grandpa's getting ready to leave, I struck on the moment. I said, hey, Grandpa, I know you know everyone in town. I need a good, cheap truck. And I went on to explain the details. And after I was finished, he stopped, looked at me, and said, when Grandpa finds you a real job, I'll let you know. Turns and leaves. My heart was crushed. And with no real entrepreneurship foundation in my family, I was left alone to make a decision. Was Grandpa right? Do I wait for that real job? Or do I close my eyes and continue to move forward? And thankfully I did. And that business did go on to become successful. And several there forward after. And Grandpa did help me because he showed me very quickly the world isn't here to help us. It's not giving us an environment to succeed. Another famous example, someone you've probably heard of by now, Elon Musk. You've heard of his successes, but have you heard of his challenges? Even dating back to when he was just a student in grade school, by just knowing an answer to a question, he was harassed and bullied by his classmates. His travels from South Africa to Canada just to test if he could survive fiscally living off hot dogs before reaching his ultimate goal of surviving in Silicon Valley. That's just a small snapshot of several challenges he faced and continues to face. And I think we're all happy that he continues moving forward. But does it have to be that stubborn? Do we have to go through this process? Why is there always a story of anyone that's successful, of somebody trying to hold us back? I questioned this. What crushes the creativity in us? What is that desire for us to keep moving forward? So I started asking the question, why? And a part of this journey of asking why, I looked into creativity. And where does that start and stop within our lives? And according to Dr. Andrews from Scholastic.com, creativity of a preschooler is one of wonder and magic. That sounds cool. But it peaks at the age 6 and begins to decline after the introduction to formal education with the direction of conformity. It's kind of sad. Age 6. What is this sequestering process and platform of after age 6 into formal education that we were going to be exposed to? And according to Catherine Lee of Very Well Family, that format that we're all exposed to in traditional education is one of social skills, which is defined by listening, sitting quiet, and cooperating, math, writing, science. Year 2, we shake it up a bit, get ready, hold on to your hats, listen, be quiet, cooperate, math, science, writing, English, and again, and again, and again. This cafeteria of mental mind food makes our brains full before we even have an opportunity of any kind of creativity or process thinking. So how do we prevent this? How do we stop producing these mindless drones of robotic thinking along the assembly line of conformity? Well, I don't necessarily have the answer, but I have a few ideas. Along my journey and career in behavior analysis, in your education, you learn the definition of errorless learning. And I'll paraphrase this. Errorless learning is that you get ready for it, it's very complex. You get the answer to every question. You are set up to never fail. That didn't necessarily describe my educational experience. So according to science, the educational process of learning is to always give the learner the answer. If that was the case for Elon, we'd probably be delivering this talk from Mars right now. And along my career, I also had the opportunity of applying errorless learning, and it almost didn't happen because of my ingrained conformity. A few years ago, I was able to start an emergent technologies company called Neurotech. And like a traditional company, I started with one specific goal and brought on others to assist in achieving that goal. And during that time, sparks of creativity started to grow. Within 1 year, engineers were calling me over saying, "Hey, Will, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Hey, what if we tried that?" And I found myself in familiar territory. My operant behavior of what I've been shaped and trained to do, even in entrepreneurship, was to sequester these flames. So I was left with a little bit of a challenge. Do I encourage this creativity, or do I stay to conformity? And with a long, hard thought, I decided to go ahead and engulf those flames, to grow them, to encourage them. And while it completely derailed from our original timeline for our brain-computer interface, it did grow an entire platform that we called LabX, which built upon entrepreneurship and engineers. At the lab, we don't have any trouble finding talent, as I work with some of the greatest minds I could ever imagine. But the biggest challenge, and even today, that we face is reigniting that flame of creativity. I also have another novel idea. It's not so novel, considering most children know how to operate their parents' phone better than they do. We're at a technology revolution. Spatial computing, AI, autonomous software, things that we only could dream of are readily available in technology. Let's get that technology and place it into the 4, 5, 6-year-olds' hands. See what they can teach us. We need to stop slamming shut the creativity door of a child on the onset of a proper education. And it doesn't matter if you're 7, 17, or 77. You can rewire your brain to reclaim that creativity process that you had as you were a child. And to those of us who see someone else with that creativity, give them room to grow. It's not just for their benefit, but as a society, we benefit from anything they create. I challenge you and I encourage you to rethink what your capabilities are, to what your talents could be, to rewire yourself back to the potential you always had in you. Thank you.